Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Three Guys and Two Girls, Two Ladies in the Bible
Yay!
today. We've got a very special guest. Miss Holly is joining us. Hi, Holly. Perfect. Love it. Are you eating an orange? Those are delicious. Ken and I love oranges. Yes. Yes, we do. They are so good. It's been a long time. It's hard to believe. It's those are blood oranges. Those don't count.
Oh, okay.
Yogurt bites too? Delicious. Delicious. You'll have to share. You'll have to
No, I
share.
don't.
Oh, okay.
That's also true.
Oh, good
This is
answer.
going to be
Good
the best
answer.
one ever.
That
This is gonna be
was
the
that's
best.
perfect. Perfect. Oh, goodness. Well, welcome to the new year. We thought we'd start right off the top of the new year in February. Who needs January? Let it go. Just get rid of it. I'm ready to
Frozen.
be done. Yes, I'm ready to be done with winter.
Yep. January was the longest year of my life so far. So seemed like it drug on forever.
It did. It did for sure. It did. But we're excited to start this new year. God's got all kinds of cool things going on here at Berea, and so we hope you are all a part of that. If you're not, join us anytime. Sundays are a great place to start, but in one day, so tomorrow, not to date the podcast per se, but tomorrow our women's ministry meets at 6 o'clock here at the church. That'd be what, February 6th, and
I
then
believe so.
on
Yep.
Saturday, the 7th, the guys are meeting at 6 o'clock, and so men, come on in for the 7th. We'd love to have you join us. And Wednesday nights just kicked off here. Next week we got senior ministry, just all kinds of things happening right now this time of year. So excited about that. I challenged the team this week with an article that I found. It's an article that just has a list. And one of these days, when you listen to podcasts, they always say, you'll find a link to that article in our show notes. I don't know where those are. But once I figure out where those are, I will put a link to this article because I have the URL saved and stuff for it. But the article describes 30 marks, 30 characteristics of what a godly home should look like. Not that every one of these are going to be, perfectly exhibited in every home. Clearly, they're not. We're not perfect. But elements of all of these should somehow exist within our homes, and it's a really solid list. So I gave it to everybody and just said, hey, look at these, and we're going to highlight just a few of those for you as you listen today. And if we figure out how to get that link posted, I may mess with that while we're talking and see if I can throw that in the script here for you guys. But it just describes, what a godly home looks like. Unfortunately, it seems to me like even within the church, it's just an expectation, but it's not really something that's emphasized or talked about a whole lot. And so, how do you do that? How do you have a godly home? What does that look like? And so, I'll just start at the very top of the list. The first one on there, where the foundation of where there is a foundation of the lordship of Jesus Christ. So, the old parable that Jesus told of the wise and the foolish builders, building your house on the rock, your home. In this case, your family, your home, on the lordship of Christ. So what's that look like? What's it look like to build your family on the lordship of Christ?
Well, we're going to build a foundation of the lordship of Jesus Christ. That to me, that means our houses have to be full of godly love. We have to love like Jesus loved. And, man, if we just do that, that takes care of everything else we need to worry about. Seriously, if we love just like Jesus loved, then that encompasses everything else that we're going to talk about. Unfortunately, there are no perfect homes because there are no perfect families. And that's because there are no perfect people. That's what it would all have to boil down to. But seriously, if we're going to build it on the foundation of the Lordship of Jesus, we have to find out what does that actually mean. And that just means we got to love like Jesus did, self-sacrifice. That's it.
I think when you do that too, you can kind of see that on people. Whenever like with a family that prays and serves together, you can tell that their foundation's on Christ. If they're doing it, you can see their actions.
Yeah.
When I think of foundation, I think of what comes first. And so we're building a house, and before you can get talking about the windows and the siding, you have to talk about the foundation. And so it comes before anything else. And so it kind of goes into point number two here. I'm sorry to skip ahead, but it says, in your house where Jesus is worshiped above all competing loyalties. So there's no other competition in our home. Jesus comes first, and the rest is just extra. It's just what comes on top. And I think that's really important for a foundation, is to remember that building that first, and then everything else kind of comes after. But there's a lot of competing loyalties in our life. I know there's a lot of competing loyalties in other people's lives. And it's hard to know what to prioritize, but that is the most important part.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of competition.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of competition. I know some things that I see, even within families. If you and your family are trying to make Jesus a priority, and worship and even church and serving and those things, a lot of times your other family members don't understand that. So they intentionally schedule things at times where you can't be there, because you are making a choice. You are prioritizing the things of God, yes, even above your own family at times. And that can be difficult, prioritizing it above our jobs, if we work in the secular world, or things like that. Even above sports. I know, but I don't think parents, I really don't think they grasp their influence over their kids when we prioritize things and we make sure that those are the things that we emphasize, how closely our kids are paying attention to that. And when we let anything else slip ahead of, or start making excuses for why we can't worship, why we can't be a part of those things, they're going to take note, and very quickly. What other ones have come out? What other ones do you try to exhibit, within your family?
Well, 3 is an easy and difficult one, I think, where it says the Bible's read, spoken, and obeyed. Alyssa homeschools Eli, so part of his curriculum is Bible, and she goes over. They're working on the Old Testament right now. They just did the Tower of Babel, and Eli's really grasping it pretty well. And we pray every night together. Pray for meals. Pray for our loved ones, and it's exciting to see him. And he even he understands it so well that when he sees friends that are not saved, he's concerned, and that's something most adults aren't honestly that concerned about.
Yeah, he's
to the right level
to pick up on those things. That's good. Yeah, the scripture, the praying side, very, very important. And not just praying, at meals or before bedtime, but to try to get your kids and family in the habit of, whenever anything arises, just go ahead and stop and pray. When the ambulance drives by your car, or you see an accident, or hey, let's just pray for those people. And constantly reinforcing those kinds of little things in their lives. Man, it'll make all the difference in the world as they mature in their faith. Any others on that list stand out in your guys' worlds?
Yeah, I like that. The one that we were just talking about prayer. where we not just pray for one another, because that's easy enough to do, but when you're praying with one another and they can hear your concern, your love for them, that you are, requesting that God, takes care of them, that He looks over them, not just for safety, which is kind of, protect us, that sort of thing, but about, hey, my wife's having a big event coming up. I just pray that things go well, that things just fall into place, that all the things that could go wrong, that they're just kind of evened out and smoothed out, and the planning process goes well. So everything else. So, just praying with your spouse or your family, it lets them know that, this isn't just words that we're saying. They're actually things that we've talked about, that we're concerned about. And I love that.
Yep. Yep. It will open their eyes to those kinds of things. One that I just kind of picked out because at least three of us here are on the husband's side of things. A home where godly husbands love their wives by laying down their lives for them. As we talked about on Sunday a few weeks ago, it might be that God requires us literally to sacrifice ourselves physically for our wives. That is a possibility, and it's a role that we have to own up to. But more often than not, He's asking us to lay down our lives, what we want to do, what we desire to go and do, and instead put not just our wives, but I would put our kids as well in that category above the things that we want and we desire to do. We live in a very selfish world where I want what I want, and I have my needs that need met. And God very clearly says, no, you rely on me to meet your needs, and you go and meet the needs of others. But that's an important one. And for myself, having a son, trying to set the best example I can, for him one day, and what that in my mind looks like, as imperfectly as I'll demonstrate it, but what that looks like for him, and to see how that's then lived out in his life and relationships and things on down the wire.
So you're showing him what a perfect godly husband is then, right?
No. I clearly just said imperfect example. Very clearly.
I think that's such a big thing, is to say, hey, you know what? I don't have this down either. I'm learning as we go along. And I think that's so great, is we have to show these young men that being a perfect godly husband means I'm going to mess up, and that's where I seek forgiveness. Not just from God, but from others as well. And I think it's so great that you said that, because like, well, I'm teaching him how to do this, but part of that is I'm going to fail a lot. And I was reading a book this morning by Joby Martin. He's not a sponsor of this podcast unless he wants to be, but he in the book it said, what is the opposite of love? And most people think the opposite of love is hate, right? But what he said really struck home with me, because it said, what's the opposite of love? It's selfishness. It's putting ourselves before others. And I thought that is so great, because, God might call us, like you said, to lay down our lives for our spouses or our family. What about just doing the dishes? What about just doing something that I know would take some stress off of my wife's, plate, basically. She comes home and she's tired. It's like, hey, you know what? I got this. I'll do this. You go sit down. That's what that self-sacrificial love is all about.
Yep. What about the godly parents who raise their kids in the discipline and instruction of the Lord? What's that look like?
Well, that's interesting, because the Bible has many different ways of disciplining your children, and I see it differently with all of my, like, we're part of a homeschool co-op, a Christian co-op, and some are so different than others. It's interesting to see how some kids are very, yes, sir, no, no sir, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And some are just wild as all get out all the time. You can tell which ones have been kind of taught up a little better, maybe, or it's not always that, but
Yeah, there's a difference in the way. It's not
yeah,
necessarily better or worse, but there's definitely a
yeah,
difference in how they're interacting with their parents and things. There's a we all see it. There's a tremendous lack of respect that exists in culture today for people in authority, whether it be parents or teachers or whoever. And I think that directly pertains to this idea of raising our families, our kids, with that idea of discipline, instruction of the Lord, how to respect, be respectful, how to treat others with the love of God. That's a tough one for sure, and everyone is going to do it just a little bit differently. And we've all probably looked at some families and kids and been like, "Oh man, I wish my kids were like that. I wish my
yeah,
kids behaved like that. That'd be awesome." What do you do? What's the trick? What's the secret?
right,
But
I think the most
it's
important thing to remember is when when we had our two girls, I was for certain I knew what kind of kids we were going to have because I knew who I was and I knew who my husband was. And our kids did not always fit that mold that I thought they were going to fit. And I think it's important to remember that they are still a child of God. God made them exactly how they're supposed to be. And honestly, it's giving me, I feel like God is giving me different fruits of the Spirit, different challenges for me to work on that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't have kids that acted A, B, and C. And so I think it's important to one, never, never be permissive in how they are, but just to remember that how they are can be molded in a way that is positive. But you don't have to. I thought from the beginning I had to change both of my kids to be just like me, and that's not true. They don't have to be just like me. And so I think there's different ways to parent, and keeping that in mind that they have different skills than I have, but I can still use that. Um, I think that was a really hard thing for me to realize.
yeah, yeah. We all have those expectations, and they're like, "Wait, hold on, that's not how this actually works."
Yeah,
Great,
but I think
great learning
discipling
experience.
homes looks different for everybody because we all have different. And it doesn't make one kid worse than the other. It just you just yeah, you learn things about yourself and your kids along the way in doing that. So
Yeah, yeah. One just real quick one. It doesn't need a lot of comment, but it's on this list where children are welcomed as a gift from the Lord. And I don't know about your interactions with other adults and parents, both inside the church and outside the church. But man, there's a lot of parents that think their kids are like a curse. They talk about them as if it's the worst thing ever, and the burden that their kids are and everything else. And I'm just
yeah.
like, oh, breaks my heart.
That's hard. Yeah,
It's hard to listen to that. I don't want to be harsh. And I know everybody goes through seasons, and sometimes they're just blowing off steam, just venting. I get that too. But there's usually some sincerity in it. And it's sad to me that at any point we lose that idea. I mean, my grandma's 95. She'll be 96 potentially in May. And my mom is down there frequently helping to care for her because she's not doing real well. And I guarantee you that my grandma still thinks my mom is a gift from God as her child, even though my mom is not a young child any longer, and my grandma is very old. That vision, that idea, never has changed in her, and just
yeah,
man,
there
reminding
was
parents how special.
absolutely there was a point on here that that almost made me tear up a little bit because I've been struggling with this one. It said where joy and laughter are abundant, and especially right now in the season that I'm in, it's I'm very serious about what we need to get done, the timelines that we're in. And that one almost made me cry because I don't know if our house is filled with as much laughter and joy as it has been in the past. And so, like you said, realizing that every day is a gift from God, our children are a gift from God. And like we can have fun. We don't have to be so serious all the time in everything that we're doing. We can have that childlike energy and just let loose in our house. And honestly, that fixes a lot of the behavior issues, just getting their energy out and having fun. But that one, yeah, really hit my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Any others that stood out to you guys on here?
Yeah,
I like
I really,
go ahead.
yeah, I really like the one that says where family members attempt to outdo one another. It says in showing honor, but honestly, and there are no perfect families, there are no perfect marriages, but my wife and I really, this is a competition with us. Everybody says marriage is not a competition. This is a competition with us. See who can spoil the other one the most. I try to spoil my wife like she's never been spoiled in her life. And then sometimes I complain that she's spoiled, and she said, well, wait a minute, that's your fault. You're the one that's doing it. And so, but we really try to outdo one another, not in outlandish, $1 million projects or anything like that. It's just about reaching out and showing that other person how much they're loved, and just trying to outdo each other to see who can make the other one feel the most treasured, the most sought after, the most loved. I love that one right there.
Yeah. And that can be, it's fun. It's just fun to try to do things with that attitude, for sure. Another great attribute that's listed on here that we gotta always be remembering in our families is the idea of forgiveness. Forgiving one another. Our kids are going to make mistakes. They're going to get in trouble. They're going to upset us. How do we handle it after the fact? We don't respond in anger, first and foremost, but then after the fact, do we hold that against them? Are you always holding that over their head? So they're living in fear of the next time that they might mess up, rather than trying to be better, trying to be more like Jesus, and honor his ways. Forgiveness is essential in families. And again, you see that too often where parents are really good at holding those. Well, you've never done this right before. No. That's not how we should be addressing those issues. It's not easy, is what we want to say, but thinking through those things, and just like anyone, they'll meet the expectations that we give them. If our expectations are very, very low for their success, well, they're going to fail. Yes, they are. If we expect them to fail, they will. But we need to give them a higher standard to reach for. And that area of forgiveness is a big one. Big one. Any others as we finish up?
Yeah, I think the main thing is don't get caught up in the comparison game.
No.
Don't compare your family or your life to anyone else's, especially using social media, because usually they don't put the bad stuff on social media. They put the perfect night out and all of that. You can't do the comparison game. That will just tear you down every time. Live your life the way God called you to. Be thankful for everything, every blessing that you have, and just know that this is what God has for me.
Yep. And if you're a young parent and maybe you got one child or a second one on the way, or maybe a couple little ones, make sure you remember that they're all different. Don't ever say, well, you need to be just like your brother or sister, or expect the same thing out of, the older sibling was this way, so the younger one's gonna. No, they're not. No, they're different. And you're setting them up to fail and cause them to just live a very difficult life if they're trying to constantly hold up that standard. I always likened it to school. When you went through school, depending on where you were in the family order, you set the precedent for your younger siblings, right? If you were a good student, then the teachers would love your little sister because, oh well, Chris was such a good student, I'm sure his sister will be lovely as well. However, if Chris wasn't such a good student, well, immediately they're going to be like, you're his sister. Oh man, what are you gonna? Yeah, we can't.
It sounds like you had that happen in your teaching days. I don't know.
I didn't really have it that much, and my family was really weird. There's 6 of us, and only 3 of us went through the same schools, really, and then the younger 3 went to different schools, so we didn't have a whole lot of that. And I think I did fairly well in school, and then my next sister came along, and she was the valedictorian of her class. So, you know,
She beat you. Yeah. Yeah.
That's fine. She likes calculus, so I'll just leave it at that and move on. Exactly. Ken's got the right face. I got good grades in calculus, but I didn't understand it at all. Did get it. Ashley loved calculus. Ashley, did you love calculus?
I like all math.
All math. All math.
math.
David, David's rolling his eyes currently.
I literally picked a college that didn't have math. That helped me decide my final decision on college, which school I'm going to go to. There was math involved. Yeah,
there was math involved or not? Oh, they do not. Sold. I'm going.
I'm
and
doing
you graduated from there, and we'll be attending
Yes.
your graduation later on this spring. So that's
Yes.
exciting
Yeah,
for you.
it
They've
is.
already sent you the paper goods.
Yeah,
right?
I have the. Yeah,
It's right,
but
right there on your wall. Yep.
yeah,
Well, hey, we just want to encourage everybody that's out there. We know winter's been cold. There's been a lot of snow. There's probably been some difficulties. We've talked to a lot of people here around the church family lately that are just struggling with a lot of different things. And so, man, just remember how blessed we are and how thankful we are for Jesus and everything that he has done for us, will do for us, that he's always there for us. And we're just so thankful that you're a part of this family, our little online family, and the 3 guys and 2 girls and the Bible today. So thank you guys for joining us. Till next time, we'll see you later.